morning and welcome to the big story on Daybreak Live. Today we turn the spotlight on a political crossroads that shaking the foundation of Nigeria's biggest opposition party. The dust has barely settled on the highly consequential Ibadan Convention. Yet, the debates, the divisions, and the declarations emerging from the ground are echoing across national landscape. The topic this morning, new direction or new division, PDP's future after the Ibadan Convention. Was this convention the long-awaited rebirth of the party or the beginning of a deeper fracture? I am Samson Balogun, and thank you for joining us on the big story this morning. The Ibadan Convention did not emerge out of thin air. It came at the peak of months of tension, internal litigations, and power tussles that held the PDP by the throat. Before the convention, the party had been grappling with legitimacy crisis on multiple fronts, court cases from rival factions, conflicting claims to executive leadership, and allegations of anti-party activities created deep cracks in the party's structure. Suspended and expelled members dragged the party to court over congresses, zoning formulas, and caretaker committees. The internal battle between the reconciliation camp and the resistance bloc intensified as stakeholders argued over who truly controlled the soul of the PDP in Nigeria. Statements from the senior leaders such as Bukola Saraki, who consistently advocated restructuring, reconciliation, and a shift from old patterns, further exposed the ideological divide within the party. Now, during the convention, Ibadan became a political battlefield, symbolic and strategic. Yes, the gathering brought together governors, former governors, senators, national officers, grassroots delegates, and aggrieved blocs in the party. While speeches spoke of unity, the atmosphere told another story. Quiet alignments were formed in hotel lobbies, caucus meetings dragged into early hours. The expulsion of prominent figures such as Nyesom Wike, Ayo Fayose, Samuel Anyanwu, Kamaldeen Ajibade, and others created shockwaves across the hall. For some, these decisions signaled decisive leadership from others, and for others, it was an escalation of intolerance and a purge of dissenting voices. So, after the convention, rather than settling issues, the event opened fresh chapter of uncertainty for the party. Some expelled members, they have vowed to challenge the decision in court, accusing the leadership of bias and vendetta. Regional blocs began meeting separately to determine their next steps. While the convention was underway in Ibadan, Nyesom Wike was in Abuja relaxing before heading to Lagos for the birthday celebration of his friend, former Ekiti State Governor Ayo Fayose, which saw so many political bigwigs in attendance. The event drew major political heavyweights, including the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, and that further reinforced the Nyesom Wike's strong network across party lines. And before I move on from there, there are so many other people who actually, they were at the party and they were political bigwigs in the PDP, but they were at the birthday party instead of at the convention center in Ibadan, at Adamasingba Stadium. And so many people, they have commented on the gathering. Even Lady Olayinka, the media aide to the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, described it as dirty December in November. While Senator Anyanwu, the secretary who has just been unseated, or maybe is coming back, who knows if the court will bring him back to office, he dismissed it as nothing more than a musical jamboree. Well, that's a big one. So there are questions about the legitimacy of new national leadership structures, how the convention outcomes align with court rulings, and what all this mean for 2027. So in the PDP, is it truly repositioning, or the crisis mutating into something deeper? Is Ibadan the birthplace of renewal, or the epicenter of another split? This is the core of today's conversation. Thank you for joining us on this big story. I have with me in the studio a seasoned public affairs analyst and historian, a political scientist. You can call him any name because he knows his audience. And of course, he was on the convention ground over the weekend. He has a lot to tell us on this show this morning. So sit back, relax. There's a lot to talk about. I might as well say you should fasten your seatbelt. Good to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
There's a lot to talk about on this show this morning. Yes, but I want to very quickly, You were at the convention ground.
Yes.
What did you see? What did the ambience look like?
It was more of a celebratory affair.
So you liken it to what Senator Ayawu said, that it was more like a musical jamboree?
No, in the sense that there was no tension in the space. So unlike usual conventions where there's this heightened atmosphere, worries and the likes, there was this calm that we're in control kind of affair. The delegates that came in, they were relaxed. The governors coming in, there was less scrutiny, let me put it that way, in that space. It was more of, you know, when you are like a breath of fresh air, of new life. That was the vibe around. So there was never any space of pessimism in camp. Everybody that was largely there in terms of conversations could tell that, oh, we're coming in as a party, we are getting in here, we want to get this done and move on to the next stage. And the results also eventually highlights it, because at the end of the day, as soon as the new leadership emerged, as at about 12 a.m. on Sunday morning, there was this rejoicing. Even so, this time not even from just the big wigs of the party, from the average member of the party, you could see them happy that, oh, thank God, finally we are done with this phase. We are moving into a new phase. So that's why I use the word celebratory. There wasn't tension, as it were.
Okay, would you say what you witnessed was a step towards party recovery, or a deeper institutional crisis still looming?
Yeah, I think on the pages of newspaper, a lot of thoughts line would be along the line of there are still issues, which obviously we have to look at how the days leading to the convention, a lot of wranglings. But I'll say on the part of the members of the party, because I believe that what the convention does largely, most times, is to put power in the hands of its members to make decisions. And if it's by the view and the desires of the members of the party, I can say that it's the vibe, the atmosphere signaled a new era whereby people are excited that they are looking ahead into 2027 as a party.
There were major expulsion.
Yes.
Boldly made as a claim on the podium. Here's some Wike Ayawu, who we can say is the former secretary at the time, and we even said his signature was forged leading to this particular convention, and so many other people, including Ayo Fayoshi, who was celebrating his own birthday in Lagos at the time when the convention at the time when the convention was going on. I mean, while the convention was going on, he was busy pepper souping in Lagos and you know, having a nice time with himself and some other political bigwigs across party lines, regardless of PDP, APC, Labour Party. They were all there. Now, moving on. What you saw at the convention, the bold expulsion of some political juggernauts, some political bigwigs in the party, do you see that as a potential crisis? Because these are people who defined the PDP in time past.
Yes.
Is it safe to say the PDP has moved on, or these people are still coming back to haunt the PDP?
Like you've rightly said, it's a bold move, and it was a move that was needed. This is a move that should have taken place immediately after the general elections of 2023. But because of, let's say, relationships within the party, that a lot of persons were, how I call it, were not so forthcoming with this move being taken. So, and it was always going to be interpreted along different unsavory lines. So, for instance, it's either the NWC makes that decision and it's considered a faction against this set of persons, or the NEC not being able to wield this. And basically the truth is, these were the two entities within the party that ought to have taken those decisions earlier. So what you see happening at the convention in Ibadan yesterday was that the people, the leadership of the party gave that motion to the members of the party to make that decision for them. So as it's just like every, should I call it, association where there is the Congress. So the convention was the Congress of the PDP party. So where the issues were laid before the members of the party that you are the highest decision-making organ of this party. What do you want? So a motion was moved on that basis. So I see it as standing, because even if they go to the courts, based on the constitution of the party and the organs of the party, the convention was empowered. Members at the convention were empowered to make such a decision. So they can't say it's the NEC, they can't say it's the NWC. So even statements from Governor Fintry and the likes doesn't matter at this point. the best they could have done if they wanted to stand aloof was to ensure that that motion was not pushed. And I think that was like the 6th motion or 5th motion made that day. So, yeah, they may say they were not informed, but the obvious truth is the most important thing was the motion shouldn't have been read at the convention. The moment it was made at the convention and the people voted by yeas or nays, it became law to the party. So, and the new leadership of the party are bound by that. So,
which court cases hanging over the PDP here and there are so many court cases in court. Even Sule Lamido that eventually joined the caucus also had a case in court against the PDP. Now, would you say the result of the Ibadan Convention will still be challenged in court, and eventually one way or the other there's a chance it might be overturned?
Yes, it's going to be challenged, no doubt. I even expect it to be challenged all the way to the Supreme Court. But I think the premise on which the convention went ahead was the court judgment that they extracted from Ibadan. And I've seen a lot of persons question the veracity or the essence of that, considering there are cases in Abuja for it. But when we looked at it, the court in Ibadan also has the ability and is empowered by law to entertain that suit. So itself and the Abuja court, High Court, are of the same powers, same ability. So all the party needed was to get a court ruling that empowered it to go ahead.
One we see there were insinuations that a counter judgment should come from a higher court, but then it was gotten from a court of equal jurisprudence.
Absolutely. I think it's beyond all of this. It still questions. It brings a lot of questions on how political interference from the judicial end is being managed. So, and I likened it to, I think on Thursday or Friday when I came around, I likened it to a scenario whereby if we had to go by all of these wranglings, the convention would not hold even until after the election. Meaning, one person can always wake up somewhere and just cook up one suit and just get a court judgment somewhere, whether it is tenable or not tenable, just to forestall it. So meaning, if they were successful in not getting this done, it means that if INEC says, okay, let's go ahead with another election, another person from the other faction can always go to court again, create another, and they just keep doing that back and forth. And I think at the end of the day, Sule Lamido's withdrawal signaled that there were efforts for reconciliation. So, and I remember that night, and his own issue was largely because he wanted to contest as the chairman, but he cited instances where he was kind of muzzled in not getting the nomination form, and also he wanted to be on the ballot, and that was where his own complaint. So I think when I was following through, I saw like 4 different suits, 3 against 1 for. So, and the 1-4 was the most recent of it. And Ironwood so the grounds for Wiki and the likes would be to say the convention did not go according to the laid down guidelines. And that's something I feel they would argue more in court. But based on information that I was able to gather during the convention up until this morning, because it casted doubts over the convention. I myself had to reach out to party leaders and active members of the convention planning committee to say, okay, what's the veracity of this before people rejoice and say, oh, things are okay. And I realized that as at the time the notice was sent for the convention itself, Anyanwu was still the secretary of the party. So I think his suspension was largely to ensure that nothing affects him, signature, because with the hands he was making move of, there was this fear that as soon as it was probably reinstated and it was going to stall the process. Because that signature is integral. So I think whether by hook or crook, they were able to extract the signature from him. And by so doing, the letter has been sent to INEC already. So PDP followed the guideline of notifying INEC at least 21 days before its convention. That was already done. Anyanwu's signature was on it. The only thing was that he was suspended afterwards. So if you had to go by that, because those are the major arguments that they would have, so they need to prove that the signature was indeed forged, as they say, but I doubt it can be forged if the dates on it signal that he was still in office at that point in time. So based on that, the only way, and even the expulsion, when I looked at it, it's a very interesting scenario, because a lot of things are tied in terms of the decision taking, the legitimacy of the decisions taken, are tied on the argument they will make in court, whether the required procedure for the convention was indeed followed through. So I don't see them going to court to challenge their suspension, expulsion from the party. I don't think they will do that, because them challenging that is them acknowledging that
they were suspended in the first place,
and that the convention indeed legitimately held. So, and it's like shooting themselves in the foot. So the best argument they can make is to ignore it as if the convention never held, and make the arguments from that ground, that in the first place there was no convention. So let's return back to status quo before the convention. So I think that's the only argument they would make. But looking on, I also feel, and I assume, and I believe as well, that the party would not have gone into that convention that cost billions of naira if they did not find a legitimate or a legal precedent that empowers them to go ahead with that convention. They could have easily postponed it. It wasn't a big deal. They could have waited another week. They could have waited 2 weeks, a month. But for them to have gone ahead, it's clear that there's a short window for the party to get it right. After stalling for a long period of months, this was the best time they could have gotten it. So at this point in time, and that's what I've learned with life, he that wields the power dictates the tune. So what I see happening is that a faction has taken control of the party right now. So the negotiation is going to take place from a different plane now. They've gone ahead. So no matter how they want to do it, if you go to court, it can drag on and on and on and on for the next 3 months, 6 months. And these guys have the ability to get that happening. So the court will not overnight call it quits.
Some say the current crisis in the PDP is a fight between two friends. That's Nyesom Wike and Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State. They were both part of the G5 governors that pulled out of the PDP during the last election to say, look, if you don't get it right within the party, this is what we have to do. Now, Seyi Makinde and Nyesom Wike are on opposing ends of things within the PDP. Nyesom Wike, yes, suspended. Does it mean that Seyi Makinde has hijacked the structure of the PDP in Nigeria?
I think that's the simple answer to give, yes. And the inner workings and the public show of camaraderie at the convention shows that the current opposition leader in the PDP today is Governor Seyi Makinde. And you could tell from how he was able to bring in all those governors that showed up, how he was able to get delegates in, the relationships that were formed in hotels, the backroom deals, negotiations with Sule Lamido, and a lot of other. You could see that you could see the workings of his hand in many of these things. And it also was an opportunity for him to showcase himself as a national leader within the party. So I can say in some ways he has risen to the ranks and is basically just moving up from being an ordinary state governor, in quotes, now to the national level where he's involved with a lot of politicking across the nation. And I think the issue, or where there are issues, or should I say the point at which they diverged, probably would be the manner at which Wike handled post-election. I feel it's a good thing you got your endorsement, you worked against the party, you got your ministerial, then let it end there. But it seemed as if Wike was overstretched it. It was hell-bent on like destroying the party entirely, that this feeling of if I can't have it, nobody is going to have this. And he forgets that the party existed long before he ever even joined the party. And the party is always bigger than an individual. Sadly, in Nigeria, we have empowered strong men over strong institutions, and that's the issues that the PDP and any political party is facing. Even the APC is going to still have its own issues with that, because when emphasis are placed on individuals, when they are taken out of the equation, the whole house crumbles. And that's what happened. Wike had funded the party during
I was coming
the absence.
to the issue of funding. One of the reasons some people cited that Nyesom Wike remained a member of the PDP even post-election, when it was obvious that he had been obnobbing with the APC, was the fact that he was the sole financier of the PDP, and he did that for a long time, even when nobody was there. When the likes of Atiku jumped to the ship and left the party, and they left and went to Dubai at the time. Now, the reason this party was taken away from Wike at this time, or is being taken away from him, is the fact that there's another financier in Governor Seyi Makinde who is ready to bankroll the party regardless of what it will cost. Now, do they have a new financier, and have they actually called Wike's bluff?
I think it was necessary, and this is the first step. So time would tell the intensity or the veracity of the bluff. So it is needed, and I think for every member of the PDP or even a Nigerian watching, they want to see that the party has some measure of control over its members. And that's, with Wike, it seemed as if there was a law governing other members of the party and a law for Wike, or perhaps if Wike was even the law in PDP. He made his utterances look like law and final on the PDP. So there's a lot of persons that want to see that, okay, there's a measure of demand by the constitution of the party on its members. If someone, no matter how high ranking the person is, goes astray, the instruments of the party, the organs of the party should be able to wield that power on it. But it seemed as if that was, so that's why his suspension was a welcomed one. I don't think there's any observer or any independent, aligned in terms of political thought or party affiliation individual that wasn't happy with such. At least it was like a fresh of breath that, oh, finally you guys have the boldness to take such a decision, even though it is long overdue. So, but now I think time was, and the reason why people are, there's a lot of skepticism also is because of how Wike has coordinated himself or presented himself publicly. So a lot of persons are worried, okay, the kind of personality he is, we know he's not going to let this slide. He's going to do all his best. But I think when funding, who pays the pipers, that takes the tune. But I tell people that it's even beyond the coming election. I see all of this as a sort of realignment ahead of 2031 election.
I was about to ask you that question. Do you foresee new alliances or breakaway factions emerging as a result of the decisions made in Ibadan over the weekend? I
see a lot of persons even in the APC coming back into the party. So currently, there are fears in Nigeria, within the political circle, that with the rate at which governors are decamping, there's a fear that Nigeria is steering towards a one-party state. And that once that happens, the incumbent president would definitely want to position himself as a lifetime president. There are concerns, because if he's able to get some things done because of the numbers in the House, no matter how ridiculous it is, there's worries that he could push forward a third-term bill or something bill, and because of that numbers and that court-like following, the House is going to give room to that. So there are a lot of groups quietly in the political space that are concerned about that. And let's also not forget that the northern caucus or the northern part of the country are also very interested. So they are waiting, get this 4 years done, let's move on. So some of the things and perceptions I get from the convention is a subtle realignment. So everyone tends to see it from the view of, oh, the coming election. I don't really see them doing much ahead of this coming election. But I feel like they've laid the foundation, the framework, to ensure that they, at least as a party, there's a skeleton or a semblance of a party going into that election. And once that is done, there are a lot of, there are a lot of persons within the APC, for instance, that are also scheming for the next election. That's after this 2027 election. So, and there isn't space for them. So, as soon as that election is done, the structure
within the APC does not currently entertain what they have to bring to the table.
To the table. So, everybody's going to be looking at where they can jump in. And PDP is traditionally a northern party with some of it, with a majority of its support base from the south in the southeast. Then it mops up a few others in the southwest. So I expect that is going to go back the same. Most of these governors that ran into the APC, I expect them to still go back out of the APC, probably after the election, because at that point in time, there are going to be new chessboard plays, individuals. And I told someone something yesterday at the convention on Saturday. When we look at the book that was given for the convention, I think I saw 2 governors, and they seem to be largely quiet. That's, I think, is it Taraba State governor? So they seem to be largely quiet, even in the whole affairs of this convention. And the person was like, maybe they were a figure. I said, no. I said, they are the new, like, first-time governors. So they just have to be quiet, observe. I said, the moment this election coming up goes, and they are they are now in their second term, you see them properly scheming, because at that point in time, it is expected that the presidency would be shifting to the north. So at that point in time, you see many of these quiet politicians from the north taking shape, positioning themselves properly.
Some of these governors that you said are actually quiet. There are some who are being muted to be on their way to the APC, including Taraba State Governor.
Yes, absolutely. There have been pressures on the governors to the camp. And like I keep saying, it's largely, by my understanding, is to get the numbers in place. The presidency, the APC do not want to go into the general election with in the same political climate in terms of numbers, structures that they went in the last time. They consider themselves lucky.
Especially in the places where they had weaker votes.
Weaker votes. So if you look at, I keep saying it, look at the Southeast.
They're trying to balance
unconsciously, you just notice that traditional PDP parties, people that have never voted for the progressive, all of a sudden are switching. So it's just like saying you're buying their votes without actually buying the vote on election day. So they want to convert the goodwill. So that's 1 million votes that traditionally comes to this party.
The PDP from
let's get it for ourselves through the back door. So they've been, and if you look at it, it's very meticulous, going into the north central areas, going into the southeast, south, just to balance those numbers as it were. So I expect all of that to still continue towards the election, but the PDP convention, I think, has shown that at least at the barest minimum, there is a semblance of individuals in the party, leaders that are already thinking post this year's that, okay, let's reposition this party moving forward. And I tell people, I said, leadership abhors vacuum. The moment Wike had already put that his position in jeopardy, making it appear that you want to be in the PDP, but you still want to...
was sitting on the fence.
You want to enjoy the largesse of the APC, but we're not seeing you actively doing much to enhance the PDP. He began to lose the trust, because the people that are leading are not fools, as it were. These are astute businessmen. These are former governors. These are aspiring leaders. There must be a semblance of trust if they're going to put their all behind you. And he was able to do many of the things he did because he appeared to be pro-party. He appeared to be fighting for the party. He was appearing to fight against issues within the party. So the moment he became the same thing he was fighting, he started losing that support base. And that's what is going to lead to the end of his political dynamic. As far as I'm concerned, Wike can never be president in Nigeria ever again. The APC cannot welcome him with full hands. There would always be that skepticism. There would always be that concern about his person. The PDP cannot trust him fully as well. And he himself does not have the political brand to appeal across base beyond even the Rivers State. He has to use the force and the strength of the federal government to retain control of the party. If it's left for the normal process and the process, Wike is nobody. So all of this interplays indicates that the party leaders currently are already saying that, oh yes, we need to position ourselves post-Wike, because this Wike brand is going to fall flat. And once it falls flat, if we don't position ourselves, we'll fall flat with him, which is his plan actually. So all we are saying at the convention for me is new leaders are rising. Governor Seyi Makinde has presidential ambitions. So he knows that he can't afford to play the game that Wike is playing. He can't afford to tow with him up and down. And that's why politics is an interesting space. It is purely personal interests.
So what should the PDP prioritize at this time to avoid further disintegration in the party?
Reconciliation. Though they always brandish this time over and over. After the election, they said they were going to be a reconciliation committee that was also going to give recommendations on sanctions. But I don't think their report was accepted, as it were. But moving on, I still feel that now that the new leaders have emerged, they should step out and start engaging these guys. I believe that the expulsion and the likes of the individuals that have been expelled can easily still be amended somehow, either by a very quick impromptu meeting of one of the highest organs of the party where concessions are made, but it has to be properly outlined. So if we're absorbing you back into the party, we expect this and this from you, in terms of your conduct, in terms of your disposition, we want this from you. So unless that is taken, it's just like clearing the house and still inviting the rattlesnake again into your house. So at the moment, the party needs to first solidify its basis And I think they made it easy for the PDP also this time around, because as soon as these governors moved out, most of the governors moving are largely governors that were pro-Wike as well. They left a vacuum in their states on the party line. So originally, some of these states, much wouldn't have been done if the governors were there. They could have stamped their foot, they could have boycotted it like Fubara did, and the likes. They could have done all of those things and frustrated the convention. So that's why I said that window was open, very timely. The Oyo State, I think, has the largest delegates at the convention. They had, I think, 160-something delegates. Some states had 64, some states had 34. And these were largely states that didn't have sitting governors. So it was always going to play in the part of who has the numbers the most. And that's why you could see that alignment between Finitri, Bala Mohammed, Governor Sheyi Makinde. These were largely the three guys that were pushing for that convention itself. So, and they had the numbers. At the end of the day, Turaki emerged because it's on the side of Bala. Arakwaja emerged on the side of Sheyi Makinde. So currently they are in control of the party at the moment. Arakwaja as the national secretary, Turaki as the chairman. So right now they've held the party properly in control. And both of them are sitting governors. They have the ability to fund the party with their office at the moment. So a lot is, and there are rumors that there's a tendency that both also would contest the coming election. Vice President and Vice President, especially since the northern candidate emerged as the chairman of the party. So it means automatically the presidential
game
election
was planned even before now.
So it was came. So what they just needed was a legal basis to work on or move on from that inside agreement they had made. So what we see is that as at the days leading, the numbers, the engagement, most of those backroom deals was just to put the house in order, align it to move. In the next 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or probably by the end of the year, I expect that the PDP leadership would come out to announce that they've zoned the presidency to the south. So to the south, of which the south, Sheyi Makinde is going to pick the tickets, the nomination form, and with Bala Mohammed
on the other hand,
and the party is basically in their control, because the truth is they are wise men and business guys. They wouldn't want to put their money and resources into all of this, go into a presidential election, knowing fully well that somebody is going to that it was going to fail, not even by act of omissions on their end, but deliberate individuals in the party ensuring that they want to cause issues, which is what Wike is hoping to do. So Wike still wants to, and that's why it's going to be an interesting thing. I expect him to fight tooth and nail. That's what he did with Fubara, because the respect and the control that he has with the APC is largely
based on what he can bring to the table in the election. States.
So now that's why he fought tooth and nail to ensure that through the back door he was able to get control of Rivers State back. So imagine him losing Rivers State and losing out in the manner he's losing now. So right now, if they are done with this and the court upholds it properly, you expect that all that Wike would have as a form of control and bragging rights would be Rivers State. Okay,
thank you, Temitope Shola, for joining us on the show this morning. It has been an eye-opening session with you.
Thank you.
And the big story ends here on this morning. The Ibadan Convention has left the PDP at a crossroad, one path leading to renewal and clarity, the other to fragmentation and prolonged uncertainty. As Nigerians watch with keen eyes and the political class recalibrate, one thing remains clear. The decision made today will define not just the opposition party, but the trajectory of democratic contestation ahead of 2027. Stay tuned to Daybreak Live. Up next is Trend Watch on the Star. Samson Balogo is my name.